guys, it's Katie, and as you can probably guess by the title of this video, today I'm going to be doing the author tag. Now, I just want to say I wasn't tagged in this, but I decided to do it anyway because I'm a rebel, so why not? Also, I cannot for the life of me find out who originally did this tag. I have looked, I have scoured the internet, maybe I just missed it, maybe it's really obvious, but if you know who originally started this tag, please let me know in the comments because I would love to give credit where credit is due because this is a very fun tag. So with all that said, let's get into the questions. So the first question is, what is the working title of your book? And I talked about this in my previous writing video, but currently the working title for my story that I'm working on is called Luna because the main character's name is Luna and I'm not creative, so I just decided to name it Luna until the time when I have to force myself to think of something good. The second question is, where did the idea come from for your book? So my answer to this is a little weird. I like to listen to music when I'm in bed before I go to sleep, like when the lights are off and stuff, just because it helps me kind of calm my brain down because I tend to think a lot at night. So I was doing that and a song came up and it was Viva La Vida by Coldplay, and I was listening to that and I was just kind of daydreaming, and then I kind of got this idea for a story. So that was like where the very skeleton, very basic part of the story came from. And then I was kind of developing the idea and I listened to a song called Wildest Moments by Jessie Ware. I think that's her name. And that, again, I was daydreaming while I was listening to that, and I got more of an idea for the story from listening to that. And it's kind of evolved from there. I feel like now, if you read this story and you listened to those two songs, you probably wouldn't see any kind of resemblance between the two at all, but sorry, I thought my camera was about to die, and I can't quite remember what I was saying. Basically, it's evolved. It's a very different idea, but that is how I got the original idea for it. So yeah, I feel like I say this in every video, but my family's being loud, so if you can hear doors closing and people walking, that is why. And just ignore them, because you can't make them be quiet no matter what you do. So the third question is, what genre does your book fall under? And the genre that my book falls under is high fantasy, because there's, you know, a different world and there's magic and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty much your standard definition of high fantasy. So the fourth question is, which actors would you choose to play in your movie rendition? And this is the hardest question for me, because this is something I never ever think about. I don't think about actors. I don't typically like go on Pinterest and look at models or anything to like get an idea of what my characters look like because I already know in my head. Like I mean, I guess I can see other people doing that, but for me personally, it doesn't really help. Like I already know what my characters look like. So that makes answering this very difficult because, you know, obviously there's not going to be a human alive that completely matches how my characters look and how they act. So I could only come up with two. So the first one is, and I feel like I'm gonna say his name wrong, which is horrible because I do really like him as an actor, but it's Keenan Lonsdale. Please tell me I said that right. If I didn't, I am so sorry, my heart is breaking, but I just can't pronounce names. But he would be for a character who's kind of like my, I guess, main guy character, who's kind of like the main character's counterpart in my head. Yeah, so Keenan Lonsdale for him. I think the problem with Keenan is that he doesn't exactly act like Hunter acts. Hunter is a very closed-off character. If he was ever so slightly shorter, then he would look exactly like Hunter, or almost exactly like Hunter, but as close as possible as you can get with like going from an image in my mind to like a real person if he was a little bit shorter. I personally have never seen him act as a very closed-off character, so if he could do that, then he would be perfect. And the second one is for a character named Leal, who is like this really tough warrior type, not warrior, but soldier. There we go, that's the word I was looking for. But basically really talented, very tough soldier. And for her, I chose Jamie Chung because Leal's basically like a much angrier, more intense version of Mulan in Once Upon a Time. That wasn't intentional, it just happened like that. But the problem with Jamie is I feel like Leal, because she's so strong, I always imagined her being more muscular than Jamie Chung is. So those are my characters with their actors, and it's not perfect, but I don't think it would ever be perfect. And like I said earlier, this is not something I think about a lot. Okay, so this is another very difficult to answer question, and it is... There's a really high-pitched noise. Ignore that. What is the one-sentence synopsis of your book? And so my story is hard to summarize because it has a lot of plot twists, and it's kind of built on those plot twists. So if you know the plot twists, then it kind of lessens the story. It's hard to summarize, but I'm going to do it, but I am going to cheat and do 2 sentences instead of 1 because I am a rebel. So my 2 sentences are: a young girl named Luna is sailing across the sea from the King's Land to the Queen's territory to start a new life with her family. But when people on the ship become ill and start dying, Luna discovers the truths her parents worked so hard to protect her from. That is, if you know the story, that is a very, very simple version of basically like the first section of the story. It's not good, but it's close enough. Number 6 is, will your book be self-published or represented by an agency? My answer to this is definitely self-published, at least at the beginning, because I want to see what I can do with it when it's self-published. Because when you self-publish something, you know, you have all the rights, you can change things, and you have much more control, whereas with an agency, you just kind of have to, like, obviously you still have some control, but I feel like it's more of like a hope for the best type situation. So self-published, and maybe I'll get it self-published and then decide to go with an agency. But for now, when I'm done with it, which is gonna be nowhere in the future because I have no end in sight, I will self-publish it. And I'll probably self-publish it into like a couple of novellas and then have like a big collection, compilation of the 2 novellas, like 2-in-1 type thing. I don't know. I'm still thinking that out. Number 7 is, how long did it take you to write the first draft of your manuscript? I'm still working on it and it's killing me. So I'm still working on it. We're gonna get there eventually, but for right now, I'm drowning in it. Number 8 is, what books would you compare this story to? And this was another hard question because I have had such a hard time thinking of books that are like this. Not to sound arrogant, but it's just kind of like a different idea. At least from what I've read. Maybe there's a book out there that is exactly like it. But from what I've read, I'm having a hard time placing it with another book. I did think of one though, more of like a series than one book, and that is the Grisha trilogy. Granted, I've only read the first 2. I need to read Ruin and Rising. I have it. I'm looking at my copy right now, and I need to read it. Yeah, I've only read Shadow and Bone and Siege and Storm, so once I read Ruin and Rising, I'll know if, I don't know, if it's still, if I can still consider it to be similar. But it's kind of similar in that you kind of don't know who's good at the beginning and who's bad, and like the main character kind of goes back and forth between both sides. That's the closest I can come up with to a book that is similar to it. So number 9 is, who or what inspired you to write the book? And this is kind of a weird question because I feel like I answered this earlier when I talked about what where I got the idea from. But beyond that, there's like no real inspiration or anything. I just started typing away once I got the idea. And the last question is, what else about your book might pique the reader's interest? My answer to this is that there are some psychological elements to it. There are lots of really strong women. There are some morally ambiguous characters. In fact, I don't think there is a character in there that isn't at least a little morally ambiguous, which I know some people don't like. you know, when you read this, you cannot expect to see healthy people and healthy relationships. There's a lot of manipulation and a lot of like verbal abuse and stuff, which is intentional. But if you like seeing healthy relationships in your books, then maybe this isn't the book for you. But I really enjoy morally ambiguous characters, and I enjoy flawed relationships. So not in real life, in my writing only. And overall, it's just kind of dark, kind of not very violent or gory, but it just has like kind of this dark feel to it, which I always like reading. So hopefully that interests you. And one more thing that might interest you is that it has, and this won't make any sense unless you eventually, when I publish it, read the book, but it has stories within the story, and those stories within the story are kind of told kind of like fairy tales. At least that is my goal. A bit of Grimm's fairy tales and a bit of Mort Arthur kind of inspired me for that part. That will make no sense unless you read it. So if you're curious, read it when it's published, like 5 years from now. Because that is how long it's going to take me to finish the first draft. So yeah, that is my author tag. And I am terrible at tagging people. I'm sure I've said this before. So if you want to do this, then you're tagged. And let me know that you did it so I can watch it and just get super excited for whatever you're working on. I will have a link in my description where you can get my series of short stories. That is not what I was talking about today, that I have already self-published, but it's a series of short stories that revolve around a murder. So if that sounds interesting, you can read those while you wait for me to 5 years from now finish this draft of this story and then eventually publish it. I don't know why I'm talking like this. In addition to that link, all the links to my social media will be down below. I'm on Facebook, which I never use, but I mean, if you want to like my page, I would still appreciate that. I'm on Twitter, which I'm active on. I'm on Instagram, love Instagram. I have a blog, so I have a Tumblr that I never use, but I'm going to start using more. So all of those are in the description if you're interested in following me, and I would love to hear from you on all of those social media platforms. I'm talking so weird today. I'm just in a weird mood. This whole video has been weird, and I'm sorry. And, you know, I update about my writing, update my word count, stuff like that on all of that. So if you're interested in knowing how this never-ending draft is coming along, then, you know, follow me there. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!